Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Stretford Paddock. I am Alex. I am back on the channel after a brief stint away being ill, but I am back. And this morning, I am bringing you press conference reaction with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer talking about the game tomorrow versus Manchester City in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. I will also have for you a little bit more transfer news. Loads to get through. Make sure you are in the comments. Make sure you're doing that. I'll run through a couple of those at the end. But to start with, let's get going straight away. We are looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference, and we're starting with a little bit of team news. Not too much to be expected here. He has said that the only person he's really missing is Edinson Cavani. He's mentioned Phil Jones in there. He said, we're disappointed not having Edinson involved. He's probably the only one, and Phil Jones, who's been out for a long time. The only two not available for selection, which is a good situation to be in, which it very much is. He's also talked in the press conference about being able to rotate some players and being able to do that and how important it's going to be. And you saw last night, Liverpool playing Jordan Henderson at centre-half. You can tend to lose games when you've not got fit players. So Manchester United being able to rotate is massive. And, you know, depending on where you sit with this, how serious Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is taking this, he can still, as he's shown in the last few weeks, rotate, drop 4 or 5. He's made 7 changes in certain games and still put out a very good team. The one thing I'd pick up on that is he's not mentioned Victor Lindelof being injured, so maybe this will see Victor Lindelof come back into the squad maybe for this game, maybe giving Eric Bailly a rest, who I think has been fantastic in the last few weeks coming in and playing alongside Harry Maguire. I think that he's kind of cemented himself as the first choice player alongside Harry Maguire. So maybe Lindelof comes in the midweek game to give him a rest. Maybe Lindelof plays at fullback like he did against Everton to try and give Wan-Bissaka a rest. Or maybe, you know, Eric Bailly plays this week and then can have the weekend off completely against Burnley. But, you know, really good situation with United being having very, very few injuries. So looking good ahead of the City game. Moving on from that, we've also got him talking around we want to win trophies. And again, talking about the importance of the Carabao Cup. He said this morning, you play football to win and win trophies, even though when you win one, you move on to the next. It gives you the hunger to get more. We've developed a lot in the last 12 months, and from the last semi in the EFL Cup, we are confident, we are in good form. There are no excuses. So, you know, Ollie said here about the importance of the momentum it kind of gets with winning trophies. And that's one of the important things. You know, the Carabao Cup has been pushed back a little bit. So even if we did win the Carabao Cup, it wouldn't be like the usual where you'd pick it up in early March, end of Feb. It's going to be the end of April. But at the same time, you know, you look at all the good United teams and how winning a cup kind of spurred them on. Ollie, obviously, Jay and Steve constantly talk about the 91 Cup Winners' Cup and how that kind of spurred Manchester United onto being a little bit to winning more. You look even in 07 when we won the EFL Cup then. And even looking at 09 where we weren't playing the best football, but again, you know, winning those cups. And same when we won it in 2000, I think we won it in 2011 as well. You know, that team had lost Ronaldo, wasn't the best. That momentum kicking forward again, winning a cup. And I think that's what Ollie wants. Ollie wants a trophy, he wants a day out. And also in terms of things, what our goals are this season, you know, we've all mentioned where we kind of see it fitting. And the one thing we all want to see is progression. We want to see United doing better than they were in previous years. And one of the clearest way of doing that is last season, getting knocked out of 3 cup semi-finals. Let's get to a final. Let's compete. And whether we can get a trophy up against probably Jose Mourinho Spurs, it would be fantastic. The next one we are talking about is the lockdown that obviously got announced last night. Boris came out at the start of the Liverpool game, if that's what you were choosing between what to watch last night. But Boris came out and said, you know, we are obviously into lockdown. In terms of Stretford Paddock, as long as there is football, we will be here covering it for you. Ollie's been speaking about this morning, saying it's a difficult situation for everyone. It's hard. We are privileged to be able to play it, and hopefully we can continue. It's a release to watch games, but we have to work and hard to stay within the guidelines. We're doing our best to keep the show on the road. I think in terms of, you know, Manchester United, in terms of football, I don't think there's too many worries. I think that the testing that they've implemented, the safeguards that they've implemented, especially in, I think cup competitions are a bit of an odd one because you then have the lower down teams who haven't got the money and haven't been used to the testing as consistently as the Premier League teams. But I don't see the Premier League stopping anytime soon, if at all, because I think they're pretty confident with how they're testing people and how they're managing that. So I think the Premier League will continue. And like Ollie said, I think that there was a leak on Sky News. I think Sky News made the mistake last night of saying that the Premier League might get cancelled and the elite sport had ended, and everyone kind of went, well, what do we do? And I was in the same kind of boat. That little bit of football, considering everything else that we all do. Everything else has been stopped. At least football's keeping on going. So I was disappointed to hear Sky News, but they corrected it very quickly. Football is going nowhere. Finally, Ollie got asked this morning about Darren Fletcher rejoining Manchester United. I think a very, very good appointment. I've seen some clips about Sir Alex Ferguson talking about him and how well he did when he was a reserve team. He came in when he was injured and he has problems with the disease he picked up. He came in as a reserve team manager or as a coach, and how good he was there. And Ollie's been speaking about that, saying he's got the Manchester United DNA. Spot open because we had Mark Dempsey moved to the academy. Darren has been away from the club for a few years, then came back to coach us. He also then went on to say that how important it is that Darren's been to different clubs now. Darren's done a few different things. He's experienced not just the life at Manchester United. He can have a different input. And I think that he's going to be a very good coach at Manchester United. And a lot of people are saying, are we just picking ex-players? Is this the criteria for Manchester United coaches? Should we not be aiming for better? Should we not be getting better in? But there's a lot of ex-Manchester United players around that aren't coaches at Manchester United. There's a lot of players that haven't stepped up. Nicky Butt, went and became the head of the academy, but never stepped up. These are the best of these coaches that are coming through. Michael Carrick, Kieran McKenna, and Darren Fletcher obviously proved something lower down and in the academy and in their other roles to show that they are good to be backups to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and to be coaches around Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's great to see more Manchester United players around there and people knocking this Manchester United DNA and stuff. You can't knock it. The reason why we haven't been successful in the past few years is because we've gone away from what made us successful under Sir Alex Ferguson. And for all the stuff people have said about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the one thing you can't doubt is he's started to bring a little bit of that back. You can see the certain things he's doing. And adding more ex-players and having people that have experienced what it was like at the top at Manchester United will only help things. So that's about all I've got to cover from the press conference this morning. Everyone looking forward to the game tomorrow night. But before that, let me have a look at some quotes from yesterday and some transfer news. We're going to start with a bit of a talk about some exoduses and Jesse Lingard and a few other players potentially leaving Old Trafford. So we've got this from ESPN. They kind of summarise a few of the players. Brighton are currently looking at Sergio Romero. Also, Phil Jones and Marcus Rojo have been interested in buying Newcastle. I'll go into another story. It looks like Marcus Rojo is going to Boca Juniors. And also they mentioned Jesse Lingard. United obviously triggered his one-year extension last week, but they are looking to move him on. Tottenham and Sheffield United have been linked. There's also rumours about Dan James and Brandon Williams going out on loan to get a little bit more first-team football with their opportunities limited. In terms of where I see that one, Romero, I think, is definitely out. I think with Dean Henderson coming in and doing so well, Romero's not even going to get a look in as second choice at this moment in time. Phil Jones, I mean, he's not played since, I think, that Sheffield United game a long, long way back for Manchester United last season. So it's good to, Phil Jones looking to be moved on. Rojo has hardly had a kick. And then with Jesse Lingard, I think Ollie triggered that extension because he wants to get a transfer fee from him. And I think that with a couple of clubs sniffing around, Tottenham, obviously Jose Mourinho liked him. He potentially could move to there. Sheffield United, I think, are going to look for anything they can in the next few weeks to try and salvage their season, obviously with the worst start in Premier League history, I think, with what they've done. And then Dan James, you've seen him featuring in the last couple of weeks. I don't think he'll go anywhere. Brandon Williams, not too sure on that one as well. I think that we still need cover at right back as much as we need cover at left back. But wouldn't surprise me to see him go to a club like Sheffield United. Moving on from that, let's have a talk about Jurgen Klopp. How good was last night? Obviously, the news I was watching the press conference with Boris Johnson, and then, like Gary Neville's doing, they've scored a goal. Danny Ings has scored a goal. Everyone was so shocked. Southampton had a fantastic performance last night, and for as much as Liverpool dominated and created a few chances, I think Southampton could have scored a few more goals. And the best part about this all is that he just dropped in his post-match press conference about the penalties, and Klopp said what Andre Mariner did with Sadio Mane, I'm not sure that's okay. United had more penalties in 2 years than me in 5.5 years, but no excuse for tonight. Well, you tried to get an excuse in there, Jurgen, haven't you? You're trying. And it's so good that he's dropping little bits about Manchester United. It means that he's worried, and I don't care what anyone else says. Liverpool are worried about Manchester United. For as much as I think their forward line and their midfield look solid at the minute, and they're not scoring goals, but it's their first choice. They are really lacking, not having Van Dijk in there, not having replacements in there in terms of Joe Gomez. Even they got rid of Lovren in the summer. They've not got any centre-halves fit at all. Playing with Jordan Henderson, who looked lost for a lot of last night, and Fabinho. They're worried that United could easily, United have the opportunity against Burnley to go 3 points clear of Liverpool, and will have the opportunity at Anfield to go 6 points ahead of Liverpool. And for as much as Manchester United have been a bit ropey, 6 points, a lot of points in this season, and Jurgen Klopp knows that without those players, they are going to drop more points. They're going to have off games. They're going to have games where they concede goals. In the past few seasons, they've nicked 1-0 games. They've not even been troubled because they've had Virgil van Dijk there to clean everything up for them. That's not going to be the case this season. They're going to lose games 1-0. They've not really got that extra. They've not been scoring the goals in the last 10, 15 minutes to win those games or to get the points. He's definitely worried, and it's great. It is fantastic to see. And like Mr. McCullough is saying, there is a very good chance that 21 is coming. Finally, we'll go on to Marcos Rojo quickly. Like I mentioned before, Boca Juniors are in talks to sign him. The 30-year-old hasn't played any football really for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I think that Marcos Rojo is looking at moving back to Argentina. Finally, I'm going to run through a few quotes. Yesterday, Fabrizio Romano was on Sky Sports, and he was talking a little bit about Manchester United. And he talked about Diallo Traore's coming in, and how exciting of a talent he could be. But then he really thinks that there are other players that could be joining Manchester United. And he said that I would bet on something more than just Amad Diallo Traore. He then goes on to mention Upamecano, and he said definitely they are looking at a centre-half, but it is going to be difficult to see Upamecano at this moment in time. It's probably going to be next summer for Upamecano coming in. And finally, he mentioned Moises Caicedo. This is one that, again, he expects this to happen. He's a very good young talent that he's talked about. They've just got to decide whether they're going to spend the money. Now it's not looking like a big fee, but it's in the 12 to 15 million pound mark. It's whether they see him as someone that's going to come in. I think that the one thing at this moment in time that everyone's kind of overlooking with these younger transfers is the red tape around younger players ever since Brexit has kind of gone through is going to be more and more. So I think that these decisions that have to happen, they have to take a little bit more time. They can't just splash the cash as they have done in the past. So I think that they've got to take the time and think about this a little bit more. But Moises Caicedo sounds like he fits the role that everyone thinks that Manchester United need, which is a number 6 that can do the job of sitting behind either a Bruno and Pogba or a Bruno and Van der Beek and do that role without having to have Fred and McTominay in there. So Moises Caicedo, Fabrizio Romano talking about that. It's looking likely that Manchester United, and it's going to be an exciting transfer window if Manchester United can get 1 or 2 more players over the line. Right, I'm going to come to your comments towards the end of this video. People mentioning the sour grapes from Klopp. Got Notch in the comments. Did Klopp try mind games with City when they were neck and neck with them? I'd say no. Look, Klopp has failed it when he's had a close title race. It's going to be interesting this season. Guardiola obviously had the win where they took Liverpool, where Liverpool took them all the way. But at the same time, Klopp has never really won the league. He didn't win the league with Liverpool with a big title race with people pushing him on and pushing him on. They were so clear, and I think that this is a big test for Liverpool this season in terms of can they do this with a limited squad, and can they do this with a couple of teams that are maybe a little bit closer to them. Sean O.C. saying draw against Burnley to go top, which is absolutely ludicrous. It is amazing how the fact that we've got to this situation, considering not too long ago people were talking about Ole out, and people were thinking that maybe Manchester United wouldn't get top 4. And you know what? It is so close down there. You've seen what happened with Chelsea. They've only taken a few bad results, and they seem miles away now. You've seen Southampton pick up a couple of results, and all of a sudden they're only 4 points behind Liverpool. Manchester United win 4 or 5 games on the spin, and all of a sudden Manchester United are going to be top of the league. I think that's going to be the case all the way through the season. You've seen City with injuries, you've seen Liverpool with injuries, you've seen United with a bit of an inconsistent squad. I think that as long as you win the games you should do, and maybe not go on the runs that Chelsea have gone on when they've lost 3 or 4 games in a while, I think that you're going to be there or thereabouts towards the end of the season. It's not going to be a 100-point season. It's going to be, if you can get into that 80-point range, you're going to be there or thereabouts. Question here, do you think we might go and buy a defender? Our defence needs consistent, solid player to keep us strong in the title race. I think so. I think that is obviously something that Ollie's mentioned, that Ollie wants Upamecano. I think that's in there. But one of the things that I've seen is, Eric Bailly come back almost feels like a new signing. He kind of ticks all the boxes that Manchester United fans have been crying out for in a defender. If he can stay fit, I don't think we're too worried about centre-half. And I think that if Eric Bailly can... And that is a big if, He's done what he's played. Has he played 3 or 4 games in the last week or so? If Eric Bailly can stay consistent, if Eric Bailly can play every game, if he can play all the games now until the end of the season, I think we'll be there or thereabouts. And I'm not too worried about a centre-half right now. But, the past says that he's going to pick up another knock, another injury. It's up to Ollie to manage him well. It's good to see Victor Lindelof back. Tuanzebe's in and around the team. He's going to have to rotate him well. And it depending on what he does in terms of the cups, whether that be the FA Cup, obviously the Carabao Cup's getting to the latter stages, but also the Europa League. Maybe he'll have to rotate a little bit. Maybe you have to sacrifice Eric Bailly and just kind of say, you're not going to play them games. I need you fit for the Premier League because you're going to win us the title by being that defender in there. Few more. What else have we got in here? I'd pay 50 million right now if you could guarantee Eric Bailly staying injury-free. Absolutely. I think that he's definitely worth that. I think he's shown the last few weeks what we've been missing in terms of centre-halves. Let's go and beat City. Absolutely. I think it's interesting going into the game tomorrow against Manchester City, where I wouldn't say... I think we're probably favourites going into this game. I think obviously City had a very good performance at the weekend, but Manchester United's run of results they've been doing, how good they've been, I think that Manchester United have got to be favourites going into tomorrow's game against City, which is a great, it shows how far we've come under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's obviously, he got asked this morning by Andy Mitten, how do you think we've done against Manchester City and how does that progress? And he's kind of said, we've scored some great counter-attacking goals against them, but I think now we go into the Manchester City game and we're favourites. And I think City are probably just as worried about him, about us, as we are about Manchester City, which is a great thing. And it really, really shows how far Manchester United have come. Let's have a look what else we've got in the comments. Do you think that Ollie will lean towards De Gea over Henderson as we move through the season? Again, interesting one to see whether who will play in goal tomorrow night. He's playing Dean Henderson in a couple of games in the Cup this season. Wouldn't be surprised to see him start again tomorrow night. I'm not too worried about that. Obviously, the mistake against Sheffield United, but then he went on to make some fantastic saves, and then he played against West Ham, I think, as well. I'm not too worried about who he plays in goal. I don't think De Gea is too worried. I don't think Henderson's too worried. I think they both want their chances. So it'd be good to see Henderson get another start in there, but Ollie wants to win this title, and I think he definitely sees De Gea as his number one goalkeeper, and I think that he will probably start tomorrow night. One more comment, let's have a look. Don't fancy Bain to not make a silly mistake. I've not seen too many mistakes from him so far. I think he's been very good. I think his confidence coming out from the back is something we've needed, and it's so good to see Eric Bailly fit. Right, that is all from me today. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure you are staying tuned to Stretford Paddock. We'll have all the build-up and all the coverage of the Manchester United versus Manchester City game tomorrow night. So make sure you are liking, sharing, and subscribing. And before I go, we still have the 12 days of Paddock giveaway. It's the last 2 days. We've got 2 prizes left to give away. With tomorrow, we are giving away a PS5. If you want to enter, the only thing you have to do is join, which is you can click just below this video. If you're on a desktop, it says the join button. We'll also put a link in the comments to be able to join our membership. So all you've got to do, become a member. You also get loads of free content as well. Loads of great content, extra podcasts. You can see our Secret Santa video, which is absolutely ridiculous. There's also outtakes. We're going to have more and more content over on the members area. So join as a member. You then get the chance to win a PS5. That draw will be done tomorrow. We've got one more announcement today, one more prize. I believe that is a copy of FIFA 21. Thank you again for joining. Make sure you're liking the video and make sure you're subscribing if you're not already. I've been Alex, and I'll see you next time.